Good morning, viewers. Welcome to Frankly Speaking with Vibhuti Jha. Today we are going to talk about an endemic issue and a very strong word called leadership. Leadership which requires total participation of the active leaders in the platform. So let's begin with the family. In the family itself, there are parents, father and mother perform their own leadership role in getting things done and setting the foundation of the family itself. It goes into a progression in social setup, society, community, state, country, the world. Everywhere people find leadership sets the path to the future or the present. That is very, very important to understand for us. In the job situation as well, whether we are working at the junior most level, but your leadership talents are required for you to understand how to go up in the organization. Because leadership is not something that you become or acquire just because you become a CEO or you become 70 years old. It is part of the process. To discuss this very important topic, I have great pleasure in welcoming Mr. Jitendra Muchhal ji, who is the CEO and founder of a technology hiring company called StarLit Global. Now, Jitendra ji is known to me for a very long time, and I have great pleasure to share the wisdom and insights that he brings to the fold of this discussion on leadership. So Jitendra ji, let's begin this conversation on leadership, because every area, whether it's politics, economics, society, religious, spiritual, family, employer-employee relationship, everywhere the word leadership plays a crucial role, and that sets the trend for the future and also impacts the present. Share your thoughts. What are your impressions of being a leader, what a leader ought to be, and who you think is the best leader you have liked in your lifetime?
Vibhuti ji, first, thank you for having me here. It's a great opportunity. And the topic that you have chosen, leadership, is something that has been probably in mind of human being right from time immemorial. Taking a cue from what you said, different spheres, right from family to the world, I will take 2-3 instances of places which impact in terms of leadership. First and foremost will probably be the family. And for those of us who have been blessed to have been with a parent, mother, father, some elder one in our childhood, I think that is where we probably get our best real life instance of working under a leader. So let's take a mother in a family. Some things that stand out very simply. First, allocation of resources. If mother in a family has limited resources, whether in terms of time or even material resources, but she does a fantastic job of making sure everybody has ample of it, despite people not knowing about the paucity. Second and most important, she is able to give, a mother or a father is able to give inspiration to their generation of what is possible and what can be achieved, irrespective of what the current surroundings are. Right from our own personal lives to the lives that we see of people around us, whether in mythology or sports or business, you find instances where people have got it. So this is from the family life, that 2 instances that we can see about leaders, and we can talk more about it.
Definitely. There is one thing which is very important, and that's something which in our work at the Human Potential Project, we define leadership. It's not about charisma, it's not about charm, it's not about being good speaker, it's not about whipping somebody to get the job done. Leadership has 2 functions, and those we define it as the leadership is all about being the architect of the future, right, and the one who takes care, manages the mood of the enterprise. Now, in this particular instance, the mood is of the enterprise can be family or a corporation or a military unit or a sports team. The mood in this context is not the soft, touchy-feely stuff. The mood is the mood of aspiration, the mood of positivity, that you create a mood of ambition, hope, achievement, That's what is the mood. That's where the setting the tone becomes very important. And in our definition of things, leadership can be taught. Because if you don't have charisma, that means you can't be a leader. That's what we talk about, and that's where it is important to realize that the one who is a maker and keeper of the mood of the enterprise, and it becomes the architect of the future. That's what is important. And you look at the political leadership, whether we like it or not,
right,
sets the tone everywhere. The business leadership is connected with politics, social leadership, spiritual leadership. We have leadership in every single field that impacts. So when you hear a spiritual leader speak, you get a different aura of the whole thing. So let me give you an example. Mr. Modi in India, for example, is a recent phenomenon. He created the mood of the nation in terms of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. Barack Obama created Yes We Can. John F. Kennedy said the moon trip that he talked about, his famous speech, that we are not attempting to go to moon because it's easy. We are doing it because it's difficult to do so. That's what inspires. You use the word inspiration. So share with something like, there's another thing which is very important. I remember a movie called My Father the Hero.
Okay.
So there is a hero worship happens in the sphere of leadership. Napoleon, despite his destructive international and killings that he did, he is a hero in France, but he's not a hero worldwide. Hitler was definitely not a hero nor a leader,
right,
but a very destructive kind of a leader. So let's talk about something in terms of your perception. What is the inspiration that politicians can do to set the tone of discussion, dialogue, and deliberation?
Okay, so since you mentioned about politicians and you alluded to John F. Kennedy, so let's just peel one more layer there. And because this is the moon 50th anniversary, right, of the Apollo landing, I think it will be very topical. It is now all over the press. It is available in media that on 25th of May 1961, then President John F. Kennedy, gave an inspiration to the Congress that before the decade is over, America should put a man on the moon and bring him safely back, and that is the aspiration. Now, you talked about 2 points about the leadership. One is architecting the future. So here was a situation when, based on the information that we have, there was a lot of tussle going between the then United States and, USSR as it was then. America was not leading the race, and there was no surety of how to go to the moon, what are the resources required, do we have the technology, what is it going to take? But the then political leader gave an aspiration, in your own words, that it is not because we have to do, but it is very hard to do. And that is something that we must do. And the second thing that he was able to give was something which was beyond people's normal imagination. Just switching from political leadership, again coming to the corporate world, very known example, but something that we can all relate to. You have an iPhone on your table. When in 1997, Steve Jobs came back to Apple, the company was just a few weeks away from bankruptcy, like it was just closing down.
Right.
And from there, to be able to inspire it to become $1 trillion corporation 22 years later, now, there was no way. You cannot just, even if you try to script the script, you cannot do it. But he was able to inspire. And it was, yes, Steve Jobs, was gifted with charisma. He is one of those categories. But most of the other people are not. They just come upon a situation, they take the gauntlet, and they run with it.
Right. That's brilliant. And, hang on with this. This is a very important topic because it affects all of us. And we are also embroiled in it because we all have our own mind as to what a leader ought to be, should be, or must be. So, we will be back right after this short break. Welcome back. Talking about leadership, once again, there is another very strong element of leadership, and that is what is called a leader always creates a distinctive and distinguished capacity for action. think about sports, a team event. You know, the leader on the sporting field has to manage 11 players with different skill sets facing an opposition which is perhaps equally matched, if not better or worse, as the case may be. So you are talking about creating the capacity for action. It happens in business most of the time because you have to be on your toes. You have to deliver quarterly results. You have to manage the affairs of the company. You have to manage the environment you live in. How does leadership of a business enterprise, which is where most of us interact, other than politics, and the spiritual leadership, let's keep the conversation going in both directions.
Fair enough.
So, you know, how does spirituality, leadership, religious leadership, and business leadership impact us on our daily lives?
So let's take the example first of business leadership. And again, you know, if we allude to examples which are out there available in the sphere that we see, let's take something even going further back. We look at Walt Disney. So if you read the life story of that gentleman, every bet that he made was betting everything on it. He was not seeing the side on the other side, whether it was the theme parks, whether it was the movies and all that. But he had that undefined vision of being able to inspire his entire enterprise and himself to achieve that dream or the vision. And now if you see, Orlando and Disney Resorts is the biggest tourist destination of the world. This is something that he was able to inspire and calling to action, as you just said. How many times did he try, or how many times his team tried? He did not give it up. He just was driven that no, there is something out there. Tried, and they were able to create something. So I don't, this is one example where somebody is, or let's take example of going to our mother country, India. If we see Mr. Mukesh Ambani and Reliance Industries, just go back 5 years back. Reliance Industries was already making billions of dollars in dollar terms in their petrochemical and refinery business. But Mr. Ambani still had a dream that to benefit India to the next level, I have to bring the telecom revolution. He had tried a few years back with Reliance Communications. For whatever reasons, he got out of that business. Now to put the entire enterprise, billions of dollars of commitment, resources, without having a real need to do it, but wanting to take the entire country forward. Right. And now see what Reliance Jio has done to India in terms of data and telecom, and the whole country's paradigm has changed.
Yes, absolutely.
This is a leader who has made it, the call to action. Put his entire enterprise, and now the whole country. Things are happening in India because of Jio, which we could have never imagined.
And this is very important because, telecommunication for that matter, communication is the key, and instruments are essential to make communication happen. So let me share with you once again, perhaps I may have shared with you in the past, that in 1991 when I came to this country, we used to make a phone call to India. It used to cost $3.50 per minute. Today's people will laugh at that. $3.50 today is virtually free, and you can do a video for free, right? And to get a phone in India, to get a landline, you had to be a big shot or somebody to have a phone in the house. So there was always the chant was, "Aapke paas phone hai?" So it was a matter of such a prestige. But today the revolution has happened, the change has happened. Now coming back to one more important thing, that there are all kinds of leaderships. There are many kinds of leaders. Who do you follow? They have all said wonderful things to people, given to the world, very beautiful words, inspirational words. But if you could become a good man by reading a book of quotation, that would be an easy thing. But the toughest part is, pick one, and here is my suggestion to you. Pick some quotations. If you like them, implement them. And to share that, I will share two of my most favorite examples. One comes from the world of science, Albert Einstein, who said that any intelligent fool can complicate a simple problem. It takes courage to move in the other direction. Now, most of the time, if you simplify the problem, it is easier to solve. The second one, which is my favorite, is Swami Vivekananda. When he was called upon to define what is poison, he said, anything in excess. Now, think about the powerful impact that these quotations, if you implement it in your life, can have. And I did that because I like to simplify a challenge. It becomes easy to solve. And anything in excess, confidence in excess, becomes arrogance.
Yes.
Love in excess becomes possessiveness. And you can draw your own examples. If you do that, implement it in your life, it will help you, your family, the community you live in, and people you interact with. So let me stump you with a question. What are your two favorite quotes and you think that ought to be your choice quote for the rest of your life, that you will abide by and live to it?
So you definitely have stumped me because when you have some multiples of quotations in your mind and all that. But let me say one simple one. I do not know whether I can ascribe it to somebody, but this is something that I say in my regular life and often do it. And it has some connotation of Hindi also. Correct. So I'll say that. My simple thing is, try karke to dekho yaar. So whether it is a business situation, personal situation, social situation, and you're faced with something which is not possible or doesn't look achievable, right, whatever it may be. Now you're trying to break into a customer who is 10 times your size. You're trying to have an event with 200 people, and the last event that you organized was with only 15 people. Both are, by logical situations not happening. Then what would you say? Try karke to dekho yaar. Let's see what we can achieve. Okay. And then we will try to figure out some pieces of the puzzle and how we go about it, and maybe we do it. So I would definitely like, because that's where I come from, which is the native city of Indore. Now, as is well aware that Indore in Madhya Pradesh has been awarded the cleanest city of India for 3 times in consecution in 17, 18 and 19. Now, when I was looking at it, in 2015, Indore was number 180 in terms of cleanliness, and 2016 we were number 24 in a list of 25 cities. It is amazing to see the try karke dekho spirit of the leadership of Indore and the citizens of Indore. Because the city was, people used to eat pan and just spit everywhere. People would eat their poha, leave the paper anywhere, and we never thought about it. And now to be the cleanest city, and this is not something that you achieve just by clearing some exams. It is a year-round process with 4,000 cities. This is an inspiration of the people and the leadership who made it happen.
Now, the viewers must recognize one thing. Try karke dekho yaar, that quotation comes from Jitendra Muchhal. So that is one achievement you have had today. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I will say that try karke dekho yaar is Jitendra Muchhal, quoted by him. Happy?
Thank you.
So that's great. So the question then arises that in the modern context, how does leadership shape up for the world around us? I personally feel that the quality of leadership has perhaps slipped a bit. There is an element of trust and confidence, the knowledge, the courage. These have become very selfish in terms of instant gratification or instant win. And that is taking people away from the long-term goal that one can have. Any thought on that?
So let's take the example of switching the same thing to corporate environment, using the word of instant gratification and short term. So now there are many businesses and you're driven by, Wall Street and quarterly numbers and all that. We see many instances in enterprises that we work with, or, we are aware of, or we read about, or we buy products of, that, if this company was taking a longer term vision, then they would be probably, putting up more investments or taking a different approach towards their customers. And then there are, another person that I'm inspired by and like to quote, and will do that again. On the other side is we have people like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, who are really taking the moon shots of today, which can give us the inspiration that these are the long shots. And such a nice thing that Bezos said, that when people asked him that why are you investing billions of dollars in the space, such a simple, profound giving back to humanity. He said, when I started the Amazon book delivery business, I did not invent UPS. I did not invent payment mechanism. I did not invent the road on which a delivery truck goes. So the network was already established. I just piled onto it. He says that in 10 years, if we or my enterprise and other companies can create the network on which space work can happen, that is what our achievement or give back to the humanity will be. Here is an example of somebody who's really thinking long term.
That's right, and we talked about the moon phase, and India has launched Chandrayaan-2, which will for the first time go on the other side of the moon. So let's hope it is a successful venture. The launch has been a great success, and the government of India and the people of India deserve congratulations. With this, we end our today's short program, and we will come back to you next week again with a full program. So Jitendra ji, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, Vibhuti ji.
And thank you very much for this listening to the leadership conundrum that we suffer from. Everyone is a leader. Just be the mood maker and become the architect of the future that you want to have.
And try karke dekho.
And try karke dekho. So thank you very much for being with us. See you next week.